Everybody, here we are for another amazing experience, and today we have yet another special guest, Sebastian Jones, the creator of Stranger Comics. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for coming on the show. So, I mean, like, you've done like so much, right? And Niobe, She Is Alive. Niobe, She Is Death. Well, what are
The Untamed.
The Untamed. The Untamed. Please tell me more about The Untamed.
Yeah, sure. So The Untamed is a graphic novel series. It's the first graphic novel that we put out under Stranger Comics, and it took a long time to make. Our artists, we work with a couple of artists. One was named Daryl Ney, he's our CCO and art director, and the other artist we work with, our painter, is Peter Burton, who has worked on covers for Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. He's worked on stuff with Mike Mignola for Dark Horse, and it took nearly, I don't know, maybe 7 to 10 years or something to paint the book. And Niobe is where we first. It's a one-horse town type story where we first meet our main ultimate hero, this character Niobe. So basically the pitch is this: the story is about a man who's stuck in purgatory. And after 10 years, the devil comes to him and says, I will give you 7 days to reap the 7 souls that murdered you and your family. And the guy says, well, sign me up. And he returns to this one-horse town, and as his memory comes back in broken shards, he realizes when he was alive, he was a bad man, and maybe he deserved to die. And now he's on a path to save his family. On his path of vengeance, he meets a little elven girl called Niobe. And she reminds him of how old his murdered daughter would have been had she lived, giving this man a second chance to be a good man or a father even. But he only has 7 days. The kicker is, what if she's one of the 7 souls he has to collect? And the devil set the whole thing up just to find out. Would you damn your family to save the world? Because if Niobe can stay alive, she grows up to become our Luke Skywalker, our Messiah character. And Niobe spins off from The Untamed into her own comic series, Niobe, She Is Life, and She Is Death, and She Is Spirit, She Is God down the line. And I was honored to co-write the Niobe, She Is Life series with Amanda Stenberg, who played Rue in the Hunger Games, and recently she was the star of the movie The Hate You Give. And it became the first nationally distributed comic book with a black female author, artist, and hero in the history of comics.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I think I let my excitement get the best of me. Okay. So let's go back a little. Tell us all about you, Sebastian Jones.
Oh,
yes.
Boy. What do you want to know?
Well, where were you born? Like,
Okay.
what? you know, just all about you, you know. Who is Sebastian Jones?
Who is Sebastian Jones? A dude with a bad back, getting old. I grew up in England, and I grew up on the southwest of London in a county called Surrey. Moved around a little bit as a kid, but mostly just stayed in Surrey. And during that time, I developed two loves. One was for fantasy worlds, you know, fictitious universes, comic books, Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, and so on. And the other one was jazz music and old blues and stanky funk and that kind of thing. And so when I was creating these worlds and also making this music, I kind of realized there was no one that, you know, you hear it a lot now when people get interviewed, but being a mixed kid growing up in a small kind of, you know, white village, I guess, organically and instinctively, I just started creating worlds that just reflected a global audience. And this character, Niobe, she became a reflection of my own vulnerability and my own ambition and my own rage. And I kind of poured all of my hopes and fears and dreams onto her winged shoulders, which was not very nice of me, but she had to take the burden of what I was going through. And as I grew, the concept of who she was grew, and the fantasy world I was creating expanded, and the world I was creating, I needed her to make that world a better place. Mm-hmm. So symbolically, I guess now that I actually create stuff with her in it, she's there to hopefully make our world a better place, which sounds really obnoxious and obtuse, but that's just the real. So yeah, so that's that. You know, so when I was 18, I moved to LA, and to start with, I hustled Paul really badly, and did portraits of rich people even worse as supplemental income, and then it wasn't that long, maybe 3 years I think, before my parents moved out to LA as well, and then I helped set up a record label. I ended up running a record label where I put out compilations of different periods in roots American music. So if you liked the Coltrane era, there is the bebop, hard bop, free jazz, jazz funk realm. If you like spiritual jazz, there's Pharoah Sanders and Alice Coltrane. If you like you know, swing, if you like Delta blues, if you like Chicago blues. So I've released 25 albums over a period of time as a patchwork quilt of Black American music since the 20s up until the present day at the time, which was back when I was doing that back in late 90s, like early 2000s. And it was just it was a really good way for me to, I don't know, find who I was as a young man.
Awesome.
And you know, also stumble across a belief that there was a higher power in finding it through music, through Alice Coltrane, John Coltrane's wife. And during that time, I played a lot of Dungeons & Dragons, running around the forest with swords and just being a super LARP, hardcore,
really
epic. Oh yeah, dude, epic. I've been LARPing since I was 12 in Chislehurst Caves in England with my best friends, and then when I moved to America, I started creating my own systems and worlds and dragged people into the forest and random adventures and just did all sorts of crazy stuff. It was a lot of fun. It was just great, and there was just ways to world build and be forced to write stories every week, because I had dudes turning up wearing their mum's bathrobe, trying to be an elf or something, you know. And the costume did get pretty good, but or I'd play D&D every week, or some kind of role-playing game, like Rollmaster. Actually, I closed a deal with Paizo to turn my stuff into actual Pathfinder role-playing games.
What?
Yeah. So that we should have available in April, because it's so if you're a dice rolling dude or lady, then definitely you want to follow me at Stranger Comics, but not just my comics, but you want to play in my world, as they say, and roll dice. Then definitely you can pre-order my ish on strangercomics.com. So yeah.
Cool. One of our viewers has a question.
Oh yeah, great.
He wants to know what your favorite jazz artist is.
Favorite jazz artist? That's tough. I'd say my instinct would go to Coltrane, but if I had the giants of jazz that move me, also his wife Alice Coltrane is. If you're not familiar with Alice Coltrane, check out Journey in Sachi Dananda. It's the album that changed my entire existence. Cannonball Adderley is another giant. Nina Simone. Nina Simone's maybe my favorite artist of all time.
Wow, really?
So, yeah. It's so Nina, Mary Lou Williams is amazing. So many greats.
Yeah.
Louis Jordan to Count Basie, Duke Ellington.
I'm sorry.
Billie Holiday.
I tried to tell y'all earlier, but I guess you didn't.
So yeah, there's just a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Miles Davis, of course.
Oh yeah, Miles Davis. Yeah. I think like when I was a kid.
Charlie Mingus.
Charlie
Mingus, because he's got that raw, epic, bluesy, funky, that's because I love blues too. I'm a huge blues fan.
Okay. So who would you say your favorite blues artist is?
Oh, whoa, okay. My instinct is to go to Muddy Waters. If for old school blues folks, I like Big Bill Brunsey, Son House, Robert Johnson, Skip James, Elmore James. There's just so many heads. Son House, Lead Belly. Lead Belly's tough to beat. Tampa Red, the Delta Blues sound as well. Just so yeah. John Lee Hooker's great, especially some of his early stuff. But yeah, I like the raw stuff, right? Probably my favorite time being in a car was spending a limo ride with B.B. King and him talking about ladies, and so yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, Big Mama Thornton is amazing. Etta James is a savage. Yeah, it was just ridiculous. If you ever hear, if you want to hear a really good blues tune, hear Etta James's "Baby What You Want Me to Do," the live version.
Baby, what you want me to do, the live version?
Baby, What You Want Me to Do, the live version. Now, so if you guys have seen that show Cage, the Luke Cage show on Netflix, each one of their episodes, at least the first season, was a Gangstar track, right? Because I'm also a 90s hip hop dude, I'm 45. In all of my Untamed graphic novels, the subtitle, the first one is A Sinner's Prayer, because when you're a sinner, you pray to the man above, but maybe the man below is also checking you out. And the second one is called Killing Floor. Well, I was a huge fan of the Ray Charles. So a huge fan of the Ray Charles song, Sinner's Prayer, which was also by Lowell Fulsom. So really, it's a bad blues tune, Sinner's Prayer. And the second one, I liked A Hard Time Killing Floor Blues by Skip James. So it's my little tip of the hat.
Wow. I mean, you have like this crazy passion for music.
Yeah.
So it's like, how did you make the transition from being like owning a record label to owning like a comic book thing?
Well, I was writing a lot of liner notes for my albums, and I really enjoyed writing the liner notes. And my mum said I was terrible at it. Like I was way too flowery and poety, with my poetic or whatever, with my liner notes, which was funny because I was terrible at school, and I was also just reading comics. So long story short, I had this idea for the Untamed, and I had this world, and I started shopping it around to a few different comic companies after I wound my record label down. And what I wanted to do was see if I could make it as a writer. Seemed fun. And it didn't seem as if the comic companies were, I had some offers, but they wanted to do a light version of what I wanted to convey.
Mm-hmm.
And also because my world has many black characters as the central character, at times I wanted to make sure that they were represented and they weren't being put out just because it was Black History Month or something. I didn't really trust their lack of integrity.
Mm.
But some of them were real cool. Some of them were great. But for me, I just became, maybe it's just I'm a control freak, I don't know. Me, I just wanted to just make sure the vision I'd spent all this time creating was presented to the reader in the way I would want to see it presented. And I mean, who knows, maybe somebody else would have done it better, but it's worked out. It seems to have worked out, but it's hard work. I didn't want to do another company because running a company is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did that for 10 years. And the record industry is exhausting. Especially when you're a nice guy,
Mm-hmm.
it can beat you up a bit. But yeah, just had to kind of armor up and, all right, here we go again.
Right.
And that's been the last 10 years of my life doing comics and kids books.
Wow. So, like, what do you feel are the differences between, like, the record industry and the comic book industry?
Oh boy, I think there's a bit more of an opportunity. It's not that dissimilar.
Really?
I don't think so, in the sense that if you're independent, you can be as punk rock, savage, hip hop, underground, true to who you are and want to be and want to create, period, right? And if you want to enter the next kind of phase of signing to a label, signing to a comic company, whether it's in the top 30 as opposed to the top 10, those can be pretty daunting because you're taking your baby, which you've nurtured potentially for years,
Mm-hmm.
and trusting it in someone else's hands, and then they have a say because they're investing money, real tangible dough, and so they have their say, you have your say, and that can be scary.
Mm-hmm.
And then you finish a product, and then you release it as a piece of art to be consumed, enjoyed, or criticized. They're fairly similar with those steps, and there are great people in both industries and not so great people in both industries. And I think, today with social media and Amazon and so on, it's given creators, both for music and for comics or the arts in general, lots of a platform, and it's as much work as you want to put into it on social media.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are marketing schemes within that, and you expose yourself, and you can set yourself up for people to just tear you down. So it's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So when you started out, like both in your music career and your comic book career, did you ever get any any pushback or any resistance from people you knew, family members, friends saying,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's you some friends are super loyal and kind, and they want you to succeed, and some friends say they want you to succeed, but there's some skullduggery at times with not wanting you to succeed because they either want to hang out with you or they're upset that you're succeeding and they're not, or you're moving at two different paces. Maybe it's like at school, you know, sometimes there's a super smart student and he just gets everything right away, and there's a student that doesn't have the same kind of academic brain, who's not moving at the same speed. I mean, I was definitely on the latter scale at school, but when it comes to business or the arts, you can start going on two different journeys artistically. Also, time. Suddenly a friend or a co-worker or a colleague is suddenly married or having a kid or dealing with other life stuff, whereas the other person isn't, and they can just keep plowing ahead, but then this person's behind and getting upset because, you know, there's a lot of that. There's so many determining factors that go into, you know, friends and family and how they view your journey. So you have to listen to everything, hear everything, and take it all with a bit of grain of salt for what works best with you, and decipher their codes for when they're giving you advice.
Right. So Riku has another question.
Sure.
He says, well, he has two questions.
Okay.
The first one is, what is the best way to go about setting up a record label?
Good Lord. That's been a long time, Rico. A long time. I think if I was to set up a record label again, it would have to, I would probably look at, for start, the art. When you run a business, you've got to be very careful that you end up hating the thing you love. Right? So if it's what people talk about, the carpenter that fixes everyone else's house and then comes home and his house is a shambles because he's just exhausted with doing everything for everybody else. So firstly, you have to make sure you remain in love with your own, the material that you would want to stay with and be with 24/7. And then on the financial side, I think you've got to look at realistic ways for how you can survive and make money, and you figure out game plans like, okay, year one I'd like to accomplish this, year two this, and you figure out ways that people like to also consume the music. Okay, is it downloads? Are there physical copies? Are there physical copies of just vinyl and you only print 100 and make them special edition? So people have to look for them. You create, I don't know, the mystique about your company and about. I think mystique is a good thing for independence. A lot more than people realize, because a lot of times people get in comics and music industry because they're nostalgic, and they're in love with they're in love with the opportunity to make something that has resonated with them on a soulful level since young. And I find independent business owners sometimes, you know, falling a bit is because they're not able to kind of adapt or see change within certain markets. The quick version is a comic book company would be, I want to do a comic book and I want to make superhero comics because I love superheroes. The difference is they're black. And I'm like, okay, well, what else? You know, what other areas of nurture are you bringing to the hero and the journey and the this and that and the other? Or just there's no difference, they're just this or that. And they've got a cape and it's red, but the difference is I'm putting them in a green suit, you know, because they're still in love with what got them through childhood and got them through you know, the dark times, the difficult moments, the parents breaking up, girlfriend dumping, boyfriend dumping, whatever the case is. And that's for either, you can say the same, you pick up a good piece of literature or a good comic, but especially music, because it's the quick go-to. I put that song on, you know, and it made me feel a certain way. Now I want to do this. But you've got to be real careful too. And you also, I think with the arts, you have to be careful. This is for me a big point. You have to recognize the times, but you also can't be um, governed by it, owned by it, because otherwise you're just some carbon copy dickhead who's just marching to the beat as somebody else is playing the drum, and you're just a drone at that point. Like, okay, now I've got to start mumble rapping because that's in. Like, you know, that sounds like my son, and he's 14, but that's because he's. Anyway, that's me segueing into dangerous waters. But do you know what I mean? Like, you can't, if you're going to be in the arts, dare to be bold. Otherwise, you're in real trouble, because your spirit will just die.
Yeah. I mean, what you said about like that feeling of nostalgia really resonates with me.
Right.
Because like I feel like that's kind of how I feel about like streaming in general.
Okay.
Like as a streamer, you know, I'm like I like when I was growing up, my aunts used to always tell me, Evan, you should go into video game development, do video game development.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you know, I'm not really into that. I'm more of a video game appreciator.
Right.
I'm really more about what the end product was and appreciating that.
Right.
And I look back and like all those games that were, like you said, get you through those hard times where
Right.
stuff just isn't going right. You know, like you have family problems, you have
Right.
relationship problems,
Sure.
and stuff like that. And you just get to go home. You're just like, man, I'm just not feeling right. So you just sit down in front of a TV. Especially for me,
Yeah.
it was very important because like my little brothers were always there,
Yeah.
and it was always a shared experience with all of us.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And so like
You lose yourself in the world.
yeah, you really do. And it's like, and then they're there too, and they're also experiencing it with you.
Yeah.
So I remember in my first thing with Purple Mango, he was talking about like, you know, you're kind of getting that feeling back again when you're streaming, because you have your friends coming on, and they're all like, oh man, like I remember this part.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, Rico has so Rico's second question is, what's your best advice for aspiring musicians?
Practice every day. I mean, and it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. If you're a musician, I think it's tough for musicians of today, because you're at the corner of Beat Street and industry, and as a rapper lady Medusa out of Los Angeles said, and it's true. The industry is a juggernaut machine that is perpetuating whatever stereotype they want to perpetuate. There's no, you can market anything. You know, when people say, oh, it's really good, it sold X amount of millions of copies, that doesn't actually mean anything. It means that companies spent billions of dollars marketing to you and telling you you like this shit. Whereas back in the 60s, it was, you know, the playing field was a little bit more even, and the talent had to prove its worth. Now it's just like whoever's got the shiniest, most explosive, most suggestive, most skimpy, most light-skinned, most this, whatever, it is going to get the attention. The biggest social media following. So again, I think it comes back to, if I'm an aspiring musician, it's got to be like what is going to feed my soul, and do not be concerned with what's current, because what's current now, this is how America and England and just music in general now is, what's current now ain't going to be current a year from now, right? What's the latest style of rap, and what's the new dance, what's the new, you know, term to go with it, fleek, lit, slay, whatever, what, you know, so if you're trying to catch a ride of a moment, then you're going to be known as a dude of a moment, right? That's kind of whack to me.
Yeah.
So dare to be timeless, dare to create and evolve as a musician as well. You know, so if you're into a certain sound, you want to put forward a certain sound now. And also I would say, be inspired by lots of different. I'm sure you already know all this crap. Lots of different musics from around the world as well, because that can you can discover new things that will, you know, open up new avenues of playing and performing, or just your downtime where you're playing. And as far as business, I would say the ways that folks make money more than anything now in music is based on their writing and the actual performance, as opposed to the downloads. And don't be afraid. I'm nearly started singing some 80s songs. Don't be afraid to give away stuff for free online. So don't be afraid to share and share and share. It's like your apps, right? Your freemium games, right? If you want this game for free, cool, no problem. Hey, you want the special gadget? La la. Right. So you can also do that with your music. You know. So lots of, you know, and be creative too. I think some of the art forms of storytelling with music has been lost with things that are more of a show, and the cosmetic aspect of music now is, look at me, I'm telling you a story. Not really, you're just putting on a different costume. But maybe I'm just sound like an old grouch. But you know, some of it is like, I don't know, some of it is not, we want it to be really good, and we want a really good artist to be really good, but sometimes I think our want supersedes the reality of where we're at and what we're being given and what we're being given. So yeah, I guess my short answer is just be a savage.
All right. So first off, I don't think you're being a grouch. I think that's like what I'd be like, where's the lie in anything that you just said? Number one. Well, number two, I think like we train people to like listen to different types of music. You know, I think that's a trap that a lot of casual music listeners fall into, is that they what's called unconsciously pigeonhole themselves into listening to one or two genres of music,
right? And
then you don't really want to experience anything else. It's like, why don't you go listen to like Aaron Tippett or something like that? It's like, oh, well, I don't like country music, and it's like, well, you may have heard a country music song that you didn't like,
right,
but like you shouldn't just close yourself off because you heard like one or two songs you weren't really that fond of.
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at Ray Charles. He did, at the time, and maybe it still is, I don't know, the most successful country music record of all time, right? His country album. So,
wow, really?
Yeah. So, and I think it was, and I could be completely lying, but I think that it was that successful. Yeah, you know, it's funny, you know, when I was young, for me it was nothing but blues and jazz and old soul music and old funk music and 90s hip hop. And then when I got older, and I was like, no Beatles, no Rolling Stones, they're all fake copy, you know, the pure. And as I got older, I was like, this Beatles shit's actually really good. And Led Zeppelin, oh my God. And then David Bowie, oh, I'm into Iggy Pop now. Now I'm going down some punk path. Oh, whoa. You know, and it always comes back to me to the roots, but, you know, I'm going down all these different paths. You know, classical and reggae and ska and roots reggae and rocksteady, and you know, for me, you know, country, I always go to Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's dangerous to, you know, there's some metal that I like. I love folk music. You know, hearing Van Morrison's Astral Weeks album was mind-blowing to me. Discovering Nick Drake for the first time, this folk artist, was mind-blowing to me. You know, so then I would go into like discovering what I could about Irish folk music and, you know, stuff like that. Yeah.
So, if you had to go, if you could go back to the beginning, like way back to the beginning of either career, like record label or comic, what would you tell yourself? Like, what would you like? Yo, young me, here's the deal. This is what's going to happen.
You know, it's a funny question. So I think young me would definitely say ease up on some of the business because it can be incredibly wearing, and spend a lot of time a lot more time in the creative, and practice more with an instrument, so you could always, if no matter what, at the end of the day, go to the river, go on a bridge, just play and express, feed the soul, because the business, sometimes these things are really transient and moving, and you've got to, I haven't done enough balancing, taking care of me while I'm trying to create, to present. So if between regret, my biggest regret is, you know, not being some crazy punk rock soul singing half naked lunatic on stage. I think that would have done my soul the world of good when I was young.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Funk, bluesy, crazy, psychedelic lunatic. I think you got to feed the soul.
So,
Are you a new host?
oh yeah, one of my buddies, King Rick O'Shea, is hosting this.
Okay.
So now,
Hey.
yeah, thanks a lot, Tremaine. I appreciate that, man. So let me ask you, what do you think have been some of your biggest challenges, like, for the past few years?
Oh boy, the biggest challenges for me the last few years are easily the lack of time spent with my loved ones. The people that I love and the people that love me. When you run a company and you're an independent person and you're not, you know, everyone's relying on you for their paycheck, it's just, there's never a break. Never, you're just working non-stop. And it puts a lot of financial pressure, personal pressure, physical pressure, you know, stress. So without question, the sheer volume of work and the financial feast or famine with a snack here and there is without question been the biggest challenge, most difficult thing by a mile. I blinked and my son's 14. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm on the road a lot, and I work all the time.
So, that being said, on the other side of things, what do you think have been some of your biggest advantages in terms of, like, you know, your career and stuff?
I'm not good with authority figures, so being able to succeed or fall. You know, when you run a company, you still have lots of people you also rely on, and you have to also answer to, because you've hired them to be better than you at what they do.
Right.
And you have to trust that process. And then when now and again you meet clients as well, and then they become your boss for those jobs. In a sense, but for the most part, it's the biggest freedom is being able to just, if I want to, you know, have my hero looking like this, that's how she's going to look. And I have the final say on that. If I want my story to take this journey, that's on me. And I'm a control freak. I need that. For me, I need that. I'm not that. I can't. I've tried to be the dude that other chap, and you know, just I respect people who are a lot more brave with the day-to-day than I am. I respect that a lot. You know, it's just not me.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I've done that before, and I realize that that's definitely not the kind of life that I want to live.
Yeah.
Like it's not really, I'm not living a complete life, I feel, if I'm doing that kind of work.
Right.
Not that it's not good for other people, and other people
Yeah.
are really good, they succeed at it.
Yes.
But
And they're secure with it, and they are able to pay bills on time and do this and be present for family a lot more than I am. So I can, you know, I'm very envious.
yeah,
You know, to be honest, of that. But you know, and one thing I'll say is when you create and you do these things, you have to pour everything you have into them, because otherwise you're not honoring your son or your wife or your husband. You're not honoring their sacrifice of them understanding, giving you that freedom to be and follow your own path.
right.
So you have to do, when you're at work, you can't work and be on Snapchat. You have to like put everything into it. Otherwise, you're just you know, being a dick to your people that want to spend time with you.
Yeah, yeah. You're like you're taking a half measure when you should be
Yes.
like going all the way.
You have to.
Yeah, yeah. Because like right now it's like I'm just constant. I'm like, man, I got to do this. I got to be on top of it. I gotta go here. I gotta do this. You know, and it's at first I was honestly I was a little daunted by like even thinking I'm like, can I even do something like that?
Right.
And then you're like, but it's my passion, so let me get to it.
Right.
And then you just kind of have to jump in.
Right.
And then you start jumping in and you realize, hey, I knew how to swim the whole time.
Right, right, yes. Yeah, when I started writing, I dropped, I was terrible at school. I didn't go to film school. I wrote a terrible script to start with. I wrote it on a wrong format. I don't know what the hell I was doing. People were like, oh, you can't do it. You can't do it. I had one friend's like, I went to film school. You should be doing this. You can't do that. So I just carried on doing it. And you just kept on jumping in. Oh, you can't run a company. Oh, okay, you can't do this. Okay, well, I can't, and I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't put those limits on myself unless I feel like like the fighter who's taken one too many dings, and it's okay to be like, all right, I gave this a shot. Let me try something else. Maybe I give this a shot, and I end up getting a 9-to-5 or somewhere, and there's no shame in any of this. It's but it is a journey. It really is.
Oh yeah.
It is.
Because it's kind of funny because I had a lot of support even before I started, but it was like like we started talking about limiting yourself. I was limiting myself because everybody would say, oh, you'd be good at it. Hey, why don't you do this? You'd be great.
Right.
But it's like
Terrified of success.
yeah, it doesn't mean anything if you never act on it or if you don't believe it.
Yeah.
And so you're just sitting there like, no, it's not going to be good. Then you finally be like, it's one day it just has to click, and you just be like, okay, you know what?
Right.
I'm going to do it.
Right.
And
and you do. My mum gave me the best advice when I was doing homework and I was struggling with it as a kid. And her advice was, oh, just shut up and do it. Even if you're like, I'm writing, I don't know what I'm writing, it could be garbage, I guess. Oh, hang on, some things are working out. Still can't figure out half of it, but I'm still doing it. And then maybe the next time I do it, I figured out a couple more things in this equation. You just have to be active, because social media is the death of people's intelligence, because everyone's just reactive now. They're reactive and they need the validation. You're just like, let me look at someone else's life instead of doing my own life.
yeah.
Right? And it's good to be connected, and it's good to see what's going on, and it's entertainment. But we're real careful.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you were saying that in the panel you did yesterday, and I wish I could have gotten the internet to work correctly so I could have live streamed that. But one of the things I remember you were saying is how to avoid getting into that spiral of self-doubt. Could you go back over that a little bit?
Yeah, when you're having depression, self-loathing, all these things that affect us greatly, everyone is kind of suffering the same kind of thing right now because, you know, when we post our pictures, for the most part, we're posting the best pics we can, you know, and we're seeing other people do the same, and we're competitive by nature, just people are. So we're like, oh, so and so's got that many followers. My friend's got this. Oh, how many likes do they get on this? Oh, my boyfriend clicked like on someone else's picture, and now I have to see who she is, and now I'm gone down the rabbit hole here, and then it's just now you're suddenly 3 hours later and you haven't done anything, and it leads you to being more depressed and more depressed. The weather's bad, this happened, right? So for me, when I'm dealing with all this type of stuff, and sometimes it's really savage for me, I have to recognize now when it's coming on, these feelings, and have some quick self-help mechanisms like, all right, bet, it's time to listen to Jill Scott this.
Right.
Oh, James Brown that. Oh, this is coming on. Or before it comes on, can I make it to the Xbox in time? Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, I'm good. But then also not use it as a complete crutch. So you have to then go like, all right, cool. Let me not now get lost in this, because then it's just a complete drug. That is my only crutch. That, okay, I'm gonna limit myself to 15 minutes of gaming to get me out of this funk.
Right.
All right, cool. I needed that. And even if it's, oh no, I got it in check. You got to just talk yourself through it. For me, it's a lot of times putting on the song I need to hear. And going back to my mum's advice, just do it. Just grit your teeth and go through, and then you can get back on. It's the sense of action and motion and movement and activity. You know, sometimes phoning friends, families, loved ones is good too, because otherwise you can feel alone and suddenly retreat within. Definitely, when you're in that mode, do not be on social media. That's just the trap. Because then you're watching the news will depress you, because that's all it ever is depressing. You know, they're not, news ain't showing pictures of like pretty, you know, like newborn babies and like, you know, things that, you know, and even for folks, I don't understand any of it, but for folks that like cat videos, you know, how much, you know, it's cool for a bit, and then, okay, time to like be active within the day.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of time, you know, especially a couple of years ago, I spent a lot of time on social media, especially on Facebook. And one thing that I had to have explained to me, which I didn't understand, is that like people are only showing you snapshots of what's going on. Like you don't see the whole picture. You're watching someone else's life through a keyhole, and they're showing you pretty much what they want you to see.
100%. It's very rare that you'll see someone online, and when they are, you're like, oh, they're like, I'm depressed right now. It's usually like, hey, check me out. I'm sipping a martini at the club. Start with some whatever, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It's something like, look at me, because that look at me is reverting back to being a child. So when you're really young, you're like, look at me, mum, look at me, mum, look at me, mum, watch. So now we're just staying in a state of adolescence with, look at me, everybody, friends, colleagues, workers. Look at me, I did it.
Yeah. I'm
this. I'm grown. I look cute. I worked out. Do you want to see? I mean, whatever it is, look, it's still this thing. And there's one bloke I was watching. He was saying it's kind of like the slots, right? Like gambling. So you go to the slots, and you hit the thing, and let's say 3 lemons pop up, right? And you win, I don't know, even $5, whatever it is. It's not even since about the money, it's more about this automatic, like, little buzz, these little endorphins go, ding, hey, you won. Oh, I did. It's the same way when we get a text, we go, ding, oh, someone's contacting me. Oh, it's so-and-so. And you don't realize that that's something that you start to look forward to. That's why people now are again just reach for their phone. Has anyone called me?
Right.
In the old days, it would be like you see it in the movies, you walk home, it's like, any messages on the answer machine? No one loves you, right? Now it's the same, like immediately,
Yeah.
right? You have the phone, you go right to your text, you go right to your call. No one's checked in, no one's checked in. So then you stumble into slipping back into depression, feeling, because these endorphins that you've now become addicted to,
Yeah.
You add that on social media with the like and the comments, and that's those extra endorphins, just like those slot machines.
Yeah.
It's like you become addicted to the need for that rush.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I need to do a post to see how many likes I get. It's an addiction. It's now actually it's not as simple as like surface as, oh yeah, it's kind of addicted to. No, it's an addiction because something chemically changes when and I'm a victim to it too. Like, oh my god, I got 1,000 likes on that. Whoa, that's cool. Let me post another one. Oh, it's not getting enough right away. Delete. Right?
I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah, everyone is.
Yeah, that validation, that instant validation.
Instant validation plus the addiction endorphin that releases just like you're at a slots in Vegas.
Yeah. So it's no wonder people spend so many hours.
Yes.
Hours just dumped into just social media, into your phone.
Yeah.
Just looking at your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, like you're saying that you really like to travel. Do you like travel?
I do. Yeah, I love to travel.
So, is there any place that feels like home? That really feels like home to you?
When I moved to America, I'd always just say England. Excuse me. But when I went back I went back recently in the wintertime, and there are aspects where I'm like, oh, this is home. And then when I got back to LA, I was like, oh, it's nice to be home. But then I travel a lot, and my son lives in Oregon. When I see him, oh, it's nice to be home because I'm with my son. So what I found is, for me, it kind of sucks. I actually don't have that anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, and for me, it's now just people. It's people that mean a lot to me. I think it's coming though. I think at some point fairly soon, I'll find a bit of peace and be like, all right, cool. I think I'm good here.
Mm-hmm.
Because doing as much traveling as I do for the conventions, when I first started doing it, I really enjoyed it. And now, when we set up and we're in the moment and we're in the interaction, it's really fun, and I'm so grateful. And it's easy to forget, like that carpenter against thing. It's easy to forget that I'm in a position where a lot of people want to be at. But what people don't realize, at least for me, is this is my job. I don't have any fallback on anything. Nothing. So I have to sell books and sell a lot to hit the profit margins, break even, and then have it pay for people.
Right.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The anxiety level is sky high for those things.
Yeah. You seem to be managing through it pretty well, though.
Yeah. I do, right? Yeah, I guess. It's it's not easy though. It's not easy. But yeah, I don't let people see the it's like I'm on constant Facebook wherever I walk. I don't let people see I'm breaking down. You just gotta always put on a good show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to meet you in the future,
yes.
What kind of where are you going to be at maybe the next 3-4 months? You going to any cons?
I'm gonna be at I'm gonna be in Bahamas, never to be seen again. Now I'm gonna be at Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle, and on March 12th through the 18th. Then I'm back in LA for WonderCon. I couldn't make Chicago, unfortunately, for the first time in a while, which would have been the following weekend. But then I'm in LA for WonderCon, and then at the end of March, and then I'm going to Denver in April for Denver Comic Con. So those are what the convention I'm doing around that time. I can't remember. I think there's another one in around that time. There's a couple more in LA. Then of course San Diego Comic Con. I'll be in Baltimore and New York, and
Nice.
yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, because I'd really like to like actually see you again in your what you call it, your convention.
Oh,
element.
in the element. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really, see how mellow I am right now. So what you saw on stage when I had a bit more energy.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
Yeah, I'll try and bring it at 7 o'clock again. For now, for the interview, just pure chill. A convention, I'm literally the craziest dude you've come across.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be like, you'd be walking 50 feet away. I'd be like, yo, you like hats? And you're like, yeah, we love this comic book. Come and check this out. You know. And then and you go, all right, cool. Okay, what is this? Oh my God, here, do you want a free comic sign? Here, do this. And you're like, all right, Jesus, okay, how much? Get away, you know. So yeah, we have a lot of fun with in our booths, and we're really, big and fun, because it's an opportunity to share your work in the most fun, wild, honest, crazy, dishonest. No, just whatever, just have fun, you know. It's an opportunity for people to have some fun. You're at a comic convention.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when we rock the conventions, we rock really hard, as they say.
Nice.
Yeah, if I had a chain, I'd be doing this right now.
Oh, really? So real quick, I want to go
Yeah.
back to one thing real quick.
Sure, yeah.
That page you showed of in Niobe when she jumped, like she jumped with the waterfall with the wings up top,
Yeah.
and then when she goes in the water with the hand.
Yeah, the devil.
That is, I mean, wow.
Oh, thanks.
I was like, wow, that is amazing. Because it's like, oh, okay, cool, and then it's like the hand, it's like right there, man, just right on her heels, like all the time. It's
Right.
like
Right. You'll see it. You'll actually see the hand. Thank you. You'll see the hand of the devil as a constant motif throughout a lot of books, but I hide it in a lot of places for you to find. Yeah. And the same with the goddess of light. Did the same thing with her.
yeah, because I remember you showed us the cover of the first Untamed.
The Untamed.
And then it's like, okay, and I'm like, oh, there it is again. I'm like, yeah, that is.
Yeah. That's one of our convention things when we talk about, when we bring people out, like, do you see this guy? Do you see what's holding him up? They go, no. And they go, it's in red. They go, what? Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. That's the fun stuff of the arts, is being able to conjure something that evokes a mood, and it's just not some kind of masturbatory moment where you're just having, look at me, moan, look at me. All right, I'm done. You know, like, what am I looking at you for, dude? I have nothing. Like, that's what stuff, you know. Like, like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get, like, all right. I put on, for me, I'd put on like Wu-Tang, or like, all right, I'm ready. When you want to pump yourself up and that kind of stuff. I totally get that. Or whatever sounds you're into, to get yourself like, ready for the fight, as it were. But yeah, it's a whole other.
All right, let's see if we have any more viewer questions real
Sure.
quick. Let's see. Mariku says it'd be awesome if you were able to come to Chattanooga in Chattanooga, Tennessee one year.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I've never been. Let me know what conventions are there or what schools are there, and I'm there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever thought about going to like any of the conventions in Dallas? Like we'd love to have you there.
Apparently there's some good ones there. I hear some good stuff about those conventions. Yeah, I just have to get on it. It's just juggling the times and making sure some conventions you have to really know the folks that run them, and then they can getting the kind of booths that we need, because when we come with a big booth and a big setup, for the most part. And when we ship books, it's really expensive, like really expensive, and the booths are they can be really expensive, and the travel, and then the accommodation.
I see.
You add it all up, and you're out thousands and thousands of dollars before showtime starts. So if you go to do a new booth or a new con, you got to be like, all right, I've got to hit this amount of dough for it to not only break even but make me a real or a substantial profit.
Yeah.
And when you're already out that kind of dough to begin with, it's daunting.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, it's the real daunting. Yeah, I didn't pick an easy business.
Yeah. First off, I'd like to say that I'm glad that you did, because I had never seen anything like the stuff that you were showing us before. My mom was like, "Oh, have you read this?" And I was like, "No, I've never read.
Right.
I don't know what that is." And she's like, "Oh, you need to read this." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I might give it a read." And then I never got to.
Okay.
And then you were showing us pages, and I was like, "Holy crap!" That stuff you were talking about, like how you took your inspiration from like spaghetti westerns,
Sure,
and
yeah.
like Seven Samurai and stuff,
Yeah.
those are stuff like the Fistful of Dollars,
Sure.
a few dollars more,
Yeah.
Yojimbo,
Yeah.
Sanjuro, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's stuff that I important to me,
Yes.
and when I in terms of my film lexicon,
Yes.
that's
Yeah, me too. Everything. My son doesn't realize this, but my next, when I go to see him every month. I'm in Oregon every month for a good week. So it's a lot of traveling from that to LA, and every convention. I'm like this. Oof. But he doesn't realize, but he's about to be sat down into the Spaghetti Western trilogy on the next trip. Right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's going down. It's going down. I'm like, oh, because we watched The Punisher, we watched it. I'm like, you want to see where it all begins? And then after he goes through that, the next trip will be, you feel that was where it all begins? And now we're going to watch Seven Samurai and Yojimbo.
Yeah.
So he's about to get his spaghetti western on. Yeah.
Awesome. that is awesome. I don't know if you remember at the end of Sanjuro, the one. So when he, the dude that he kind of made friends with, that was kind of like a guard for the rival family.
Right.
And then he's like, "Yo, you tricked me," and he's like, "Hey man, I had to do it." And basically, it's all good. Basically, he comes to the end of the end of the movie, it's him versus him, Sanjuro versus his guard buddy,
Right.
and so they're just standing there. And for a moment, I thought that the video had frozen,
Oh yeah.
and they were just standing so still.
Oh yeah.
And then it was a quick draw. In a minute, it was over.
Yes.
It was over.
That's just why the spaghetti westerns took from that.
Yeah.
Because it's like freeze frame and bang, it's over and done. And that's why in the Untamed, in the first issue, crap, it was done.
Yeah.
If we ever get blessed to do a film or a TV show, I want the fighting to be crack, crack, boom, maim, done. I thought when they did the Bourne Identity series, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Nothing's wasted. Everything is the shot to maim or kill. And I think sometimes when you do fantasy or superheroes or whatever, it's just big and operatic, which is cool. But for me, I like everything.
Yeah, succinct.
Yeah, savage. Got to be savage.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the Zatoichi films? Blind Swordsman.
Okay. Yes.
And it's it's just like that. It's
Right.
Okay, listen, I don't want to fight you. Leave me alone. I'm a blind dude.
Yep.
And it's oh no, we're here for a fight. Okay, fine.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes, I saw that stuff when I was a kid. Loved it.
Yeah, I didn't really know about Zatoichi. I knew about Zatoichi,
Right.
but I never watched it until my mom bought me the DVD, the first one.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I watched it, I was like, and I'm like, are all the rest of these on the Criterion Collection on Hulu? I'm on it. I am
Right.
on it. Oh,
Oh, that's cool. Oh, they're on Hulu?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay.
They also have a movie where they actually have Sandro Yojimbo meets
Yojimbo,
Zatoichi.
right,
Oh,
right.
man.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I could talk about this all day, but I'm not going to hold you. I'd like to thank you very much for
Thanks
coming
for
on the
having me.
show.
Thank you.
So much.
Awesome.
I mean,
Yeah,
it was
pleasure.
quite a pleasure. Everybody, that's it for the E-Mazing experience for now. Thanks again to Sebastian Jones for coming on the show. I will be back later on with like my third and last interview, Milton Davis, and that'll be pretty much the end of the Black to the Future interview series. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Riku, for so many great questions. And I'll see you guys on another E-Mazing experience in a few hours. I'll see you then.